I'm Wanda from Alanda Craft, and I have a new machine to show you today, and it's absolutely awesome. Now this is the xTool F1, and it's an engraving and cutting machine, and we are just loving it. Now this machine is small, it's portable, and it's super fast. And it's ideal for Etsy sellers, and also for those of you who go to markets and you want to do personalised engraving on the spot. So let's get on and show you what it can do. Now you may have seen our other demos for different laser machines that we have, and as much as we love them, we know that they can be a bit fiddly to put together and a little technical to use. But this one, however, is very, very different. First of all, we found it super easy to put together. I just had to place the work plate into the machine, plug in the power cable, and then just connect the USB from the side of the machine to my computer. And by the way, it does work on both a Mac and a PC. Now I then had to attach the exhaust pipe to the back of the machine, but other than that, that was all we needed to do to get this machine up and running. Now the machine requires software to run, so I downloaded that from the xTool website, but it's pretty simple to use. If you've ever used the Cricut Design Space or ScanNCut Canvas, it's a bit like that, only easier. In the software, I had to connect the machine first, but it's simple to do. All you do is click on the Connect Device option and it will show your machine. So you just need to click that and you're good to go. And that's all you need to do to set up the machine. So now we can start engraving, and the first thing I wanted to do was engrave on a wooden coaster. So I placed the coaster in the machine, and as you can see there are two dots on the coaster, and the goal is to merge these two dots so that you create the correct focus. And you do this to adjust for different thicknesses of material you might be using. It's pretty simple. You can either manually turn the focus wheel on the side of the machine, or you can let the machine do it for you automatically by clicking here in the software. And as you can see, the two dots merge with each other, and at that point the machine is focused and ready to go. Once focused, I opened up an SVG file that I downloaded from Creative Fabrica and I resized it to fit the coaster. Now back in Creative Space, I just needed to select the settings for the coaster, and xTool have provided some default settings for different materials, which is super helpful. So I just went with the wood coaster setting from the drop down, and then I clicked on my image, and when you do that you get a number of different settings that appear on the right. Now at this point it's a good idea to check the settings to make sure everything is right for you. Now all you need to do is to come down to the framing option, and I have to say that the framing on this machine is pretty awesome. What it allows me to do is to see where the engraving is going to appear on my coaster, so I can move the coaster around to line it up perfectly. And once I'm happy with the position, I can turn off the frame option. Now I just need to close the protective cover on the machine, and then back in the software I just press start and then start again. And then what I need to do is press the button on the side of the machine. Okay, so away it goes. Now this is actually the second attempt at this. As when we did it the first time, we didn't realise that there was a wood coaster option, and we'd selected a general plywood setting, and the design was quite light. I wanted it to be more intense, so we checked again and we found the wood coaster option, and as you can see on the second run it has come out a lot darker, and I was very happy with that. Now the next thing we want to test is the speed. Now xTool claims that this machine can engrave at speeds of up to 4,000 millimeters per second, which is lightning fast. So we started with a metal business card, which comes in the box, and in the software we selected the score option. Now this is in real time, and as you can see it's moving super fast, and it only took 12 seconds. You can get the speed down even further, however we wanted a more intense outline, and you can see the result here. It's just lovely. We also decided to engrave this design, so I selected the engrave option, which creates a more filled in engraving, and this one came out great. It took longer, but engraving will always take longer than scoring. The next thing we tried was a piece of cardstock, and we engraved a birthday greeting. This was a little more complex, but it still only took a little over a minute. Now it looks like it's burning, but as you can see it turned out beautifully, and when we flip it over you can see there's no burning on the other side. Next we decided to do a few happy birthday sentiment strips, and these came out great. Now you can get the font size down to 0.3 millimeter, which is ideal for doing this type of work. Bear in mind that when engraving on cardstock it really only works well on the darker colours. We didn't have much success on the lighter colours. Now you're going to be blown away with how you can engrave photos with this machine. We used one of the metal business cards that came in the box, and you can see how amazing that this came out. I loved it so much I decided to engrave it again on a larger piece that I had in my stash. Next I thought I might try engraving on a little metal tin container that I had. Now I could just have easily removed the lid to engrave it, but it worked fine with the lid on. Because of the autofocus, the machine adjusts to the height of the material. Now this came out great, and it only took 32 seconds to complete the engraving. Now in the box you also get a few dog tags to play with, and what you are seeing here is actually our second attempt. On our first attempt we didn't realise there was a setting in the machine specifically for dog tags, and it came out a little light. However, with the correct setting this one came out great, as you can see. I had some popsicle sticks on hand, so what I thought I'd do is make some planter tags for my garden. I'm getting my garden ready, and I've just planted broad beans and some other things, so you can see just how nicely this engraves on those popsicle sticks. I realise they probably won't last many years, but what does it matter? They're cheap and easy to engrave, and I think they look great. And I'll make a few other different labels to pop around the garden as well. We had some MDF coasters in our stash that we got from our local Bunnings store here in Australia, and MDF always comes out well when it's laser engraved, so we thought we'd give one of those a go. So we found this cute SVG file from Creative Fabrica, and you'll see the link for that in the description field below. So you can see what a nice job it's done, and I really like the saying. It's super cute. The next thing I wanted to try was a rolling pin, and as you can see I have used a piece of foam just to hold it in place so it doesn't roll around, but you can purchase a rotary tool as an optional accessory, and that's specifically made for round objects like glassware, tumblers, mugs and so on. But as you can see, this turned out really great even without the rotary tool. So I thought I would try engraving on some tags that I had in my stash. I thought these might look good attached with string to the herbs that I dehydrate and store in mason jars. I haven't actually attached them yet, as I'm not sure whether it's going to be one of those things that is good in theory but not so good in practice. But either way, they certainly do look good. Now this machine not only engraves, it also cuts with up to 8mm for wood and 5mm for acrylic. And when you're cutting you need to use the working panel. This protects the work surface and it raises the material to prevent burning. Now we thought we'd do a cutout on cardstock, and since there were no default settings in Creative Space, we had to come up with our own. And by the way, all the settings for each of these projects will be on the website, so check the description in the field below for that. Now we wanted to see how fine it would cut, so we went with an SVG file that we've tested on another laser in the past, only we made the image even smaller, which means it would be even finer. But take a look at this. It is so fine and delicate, and there's no burning at all. Just look at that. That's absolutely brilliant. I was blown away when I saw how fine that this machine cut. In the box were a couple of pieces of acrylic, so we did a cut and engrave, and it came out beautifully. You can see here it's a key ring for Route 66. A few years ago I went to a place called Seligman, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and I didn't pick up a Route 66 memento at the time. I just picked up things about the town itself. So now I do have my little memento of Route 66. So that's a lovely little key ring there on acrylic. Our final cut was on a piece of plywood. Now this was our first attempt, and we chose the default setting in the software for 3mm plywood. It ended up being way too intense, and then we realised that our piece of plywood was only 2mm. So you can see the result. There was a lot of burning, especially on the left side. We did end up trying again and reduce the settings, and you can see that the second attempt turned out perfectly. Now the machine has a protective slide cover, and it also has a built-in fan which extracts air out through an exhaust pipe. But you can also purchase an optional desktop exhaust purifier with a 3-layer filtration system, and this achieves a 99.9 purification rate, and it is super quiet. Now since we've had the machine open for filming most of the time, we haven't had much of a chance to test it out properly as yet, but we will be doing a video on our Go Laser Go YouTube channel that will include more information on this, and the link to that channel will be in the description field below. Now, if you're thinking that the working surface is a little small, then you can also purchase a slide extension which gives you a larger working surface. And we'll be getting one of these ourselves again, and you'll see a dedicated video on our laser channel in the near future. So you can see how awesome this machine is, and there'll be links in the description below to where you can buy this machine. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It certainly helps us to keep growing. So thank you very much, and we'll catch you next time.